You can make fun of me about it too. It's fine. The webinar is now live. Okay.
We could make fun of you while the webinar's live.
What did you say?
So we could just make fun of you while the webinar's live.
That's right. That's okay. Only good humor. I know it comes from the bottom of your heart.
Right here.
Thank you. All right. So just here. Okay. Great. Looks like we have all the participants joining. Fantastic. I need to turn my Outlook off because I'm getting a lot of them. Okay. Great. Well, I'm excited. So I just posted it. Hopefully we get a lot of participants. I think it's going to be a great topic. I was actually talking about it this morning here to George, and I was telling him some of the bullet points, and he said, "This sounds great. Maybe I should join." I said, "Yes, absolutely."
Yeah, my staff started telling me like, yeah, hey, you probably should do one of these at this point, just because the amount of questions that we end up getting just through help desk support. So yeah, hopefully it will benefit everyone.
I'm sure it will. So we've just got a minute or two, and then we're gonna get started.
Sounds good.
You're still flowing in. It's like one of those exciting things where the numbers keep going up. Okay. And we get 100 participants. 3 more.
Right.
Okay. All right. So I think we're at the hour here. So we're going to get started. If somebody misses the intro, that's okay. This is going to be recorded. Good morning. My name is Joanna Sobran from MXO Tech. And with me today is Will Oriana, and he's our Director of Client Services. We're really excited. I am about doing this webinar because I love educational webinars. I feel like we're all life learners, and learning something every day is really important, right? Mentally and for your business. And so a lot of people use Microsoft Office 365 and other tools that come with various features and applications, but they don't always know how to use it. We tend to get stuck in our ways, and we use sort of your regular, file drives and or applications that we used from 10 years ago. And there's a lot of new, really cool apps out there. And so today we're going to talk to you about OneDrive and how to utilize it. We're going to show you actually what is OneDrive good for, what is it not good for, how to access via local computer and the web portal. We're going to talk about file synchronization between computers and mobile devices, how to save space and run OneDrive using files on demand, how to automatically back up and sync your desktop documents and pictures, which are really important to OneDrive, open files from within Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and then sharing files within OneDrive, both internally, externally, public versus private links, and how to password protect them, which I think is really important. Save email attachments from Outlook to OneDrive. Security recommendations that we have for you today also are really important that Will is going to cover. And everything that we do when we talk about, we add the security component because we can't express how important it is that your data continues to stay safe. And then of course, at the end, we're going to open it up to questions for everyone. We're going to do questions 2 ways. One, you can put them in the chat, and then I'm just going to sort of tally them up, and maybe I'll ask in between while Will is doing the webinar or at the end. And then we may unmute people and just let you ask your questions directly, and we'll finish it. So we have it scheduled for an hour today. The webinar and the training that Will is going to do itself is only 30 minutes. And then the rest we leave it for questions, because believe it or not, people have so many amazing questions every time we do this that we leave quite a bit of time because usually whoever asks that, other people benefit from it. And so we want this to be a collaborative process, not just us kind of talking at you, training you, but also showing you interactively how to do things using OneDrive that are maybe more specific towards your business. Also, at the end, I'm going to have a really good announcement for you about the next webinar. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Will. I think we've had quite a few people join now. So Will, please take it over.
All right, thank you, Joanna. All right, so yeah, I wanted to get into talking about what is Microsoft OneDrive. I get this question quite a bit from all of our clients. And I think here's what it is and here's what it isn't. So Microsoft OneDrive is an awesome file sharing or a file storage tool for your data. And when I say your data, meaning your personal work data. So previously, before, in more traditional environments, you would have let's say like a home drive or an H drive is what people would call it. So it'd be this kind of storage place on a file server that was just made for you. Part of the problem with that is that whenever you needed to access that home drive, you would need to use VPN, or you would use this offline synchronization that just may not have worked very well, right? And it just doesn't fit all of our lifestyles now. So OneDrive is a fantastic place where you can store all of that data that you have that you use just for yourself, and it can be stored in the cloud, and also you can access it from all your devices, which we'll get into today. Here's what OneDrive isn't. OneDrive is not a file server replacement for your company. I would not recommend using OneDrive to suddenly move your entire organization files. The reason is because with OneDrive, you really are, when you upload a file and share it, it's being uploaded on your account and being shared from your account. And for, like if Joanna does a share like that, she's the owner of the company. I don't think Joanna's going anywhere as far as I'm aware. But that's okay if she does that, right? But let's say you have one of your other employees that, let's say, runs HR, and they create an HR share, and then that employee leaves the organization for whatever reason. Now, when you remove their licensing, that data is now gone. You have to go through this process of migrating that data over to someone else, right? So using other products like Sharepoint, a traditional file server, there's tons of them out there, Box, M-Files, there's several different options out there that you can pick from. Those solutions are meant to have a central repository, but OneDrive is not a central repository for your organization, okay? I'm sure we'll have more questions about that a little bit later on, but let's continue to go through this. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Okay, sharing screen. Here's what I hope to be at one day when I take a vacation at some point. All right, so Microsoft OneDrive. So easily on your computer, whether it's a Mac or Windows computer, there's an application that's installed. You can see on the bottom right-hand corner here that there's this little blue icon, and I have it installed. I'm logged in, right? So it's already available to me. If I go ahead and go to File Explorer here, you can see that I have OneDrive available with all of my files as well, right? So it's a very simple way to just access it through your computer. Same thing if you had a Mac, or if you had a tablet like an iPad or your phone. You download the OneDrive app, you sign in with your Office 365 credentials, and you'll be able to access your information. Very similar to a lot of you might be used to like Google Drive or Dropbox, very similar to that way, okay? At the same time, you can also access it through the web, right? So if you go to the home, everyone's Office 365 home, which is portal.office.com, right? You'll see OneDrive as an app that's available to you. You'll be able to click it, and you're going to be able to see the exact same data, right? Because it's all synchronized to the cloud. This makes it just very convenient, especially the cloud version for me. I think if, let's say you're on a shared computer, or maybe you're using like a Chromebook or something like that, something that doesn't have a full-blown Windows operating system or Mac operating system, you can go through the web and you can access the files there. And the great thing too is that as long as you have this as part of your subscription, which most people do, you'll actually be able to open those files from within OneDrive right inside of your browser. And And we'll go ahead and also show you that in a moment. But you can do that all really through the web. And I think, you know, this is going to become way more feature rich as time goes on, because your browser ends up now becoming almost your core business application for most people. All right. Now, the way OneDrive works is as you add a file, whether it's through the web, through your computer, through wherever, you add a file, that file is then being synchronized to the cloud. So it's a file level sort of synchronization. So if let's just say, if I go into my OneDrive demo here, and let's just say I create just a simple text document, right? You can see that the document's been created. The document will synchronize. When it synchronizes, you'll see a little green check mark saying that it's been synchronized to the cloud, okay? I can also go down to my OneDrive here, and I could see that there is now a, it kind of keeps a tally of what's been going on. You could see that it was uploaded and it was 11 seconds ago, right? And now it's available. If I go into my demo here, folder, I can see the document there as well. So it's all synchronized. Now that works because I am online and I'm available. It's right, I have internet access. If you're doing this when you don't have internet access and you're doing this through your computer, what's going to happen is you're going to see a little icon that kind of shows kind of like two circles, two arrows circle pointing at each other. And it's just saying that, hey, it's not ready. It's not available to be synchronized. The minute you're back online, that will go ahead and synchronize the data. Okay. So I can't stress that enough. It is very much online based if you want files to synchronize to the cloud. So you upload this document. If you go to your iPad and you try to access that document, you won't be able to if you weren't online in its original place. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and say, now with that being said, you want to go ahead and work offline, right? So let's say you're one of those adventurous people right now and you want to get on a flight to some vacation destination or wherever you want to go, and you want to have this information available to you, you know, and you don't want to use public Wi-Fi or anything like that, but you want to work on these documents, right? Then at that point, one easy thing that you can do is, let's just say I'm going to click this document right here. You can always right click on the document, and you can do this on a folder level as well, but you can right click on it and you can say, hey, always keep on this device. And when you click on that, you can see that it will put a green check mark, and now it's available offline. So if I do go offline, that document is going to be readily available for me and I can work on it. As soon as I get back online, it'll synchronize back up to the cloud. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's look at a couple other settings within OneDrive as well. So if I go ahead and click on the OneDrive app down here on the bottom right, I can see the menu comes up. I'll see this help and settings section. I can click on that and I can click settings. If I go to the settings tab, you'll see a lot of this stuff is by default going to be checked. But I want to make sure that you guys know that this is available to you. So do you want OneDrive to start up automatically when you log into Windows? Yes. Do you want to automatically pause that synchronization when you're like on a metered network or on a battery saver mode? Metered network, just for those that may not know, is, let's say you have a hotspot or a cell phone that you want to connect your computer to, and you're on a limited data plan. That's a metered network, right? So it'll pause it just to save you on data. You can turn off and on some of these notifications. And then the feature that I love that I kind of just showed was files on demand. So a lot of like previously, let's say you would have Dropbox, you know, most of the time, all that data just would synchronize to your computer. And what happens is when all that data synchronizes to your computer, unfortunately, you're now out of space, right? You can run out of space. And especially now as computers are starting to use solid state hard drives, which are typically smaller in size, this becomes very important because, you know, it gets very expensive to get a 1 terabyte solid state drive, right? That's not normal nowadays. So, or even let's say if you're on a cell phone or your iPad or something like that, and you're trying to synchronize files, you really don't want to download all that data to those devices. Just doesn't make any sense to do that anymore. So this is checked by default. And I'll actually go and show you that real quick. You'll see that, like, if I go into my OneDrive here, there's all these cloud icons, right? So it means that the files are there, but they're just not downloaded to my machine, but they're available to me if I do want to download them to my machine. So I'll do that as an example. So let's say if I go here and I'm going to make this one, I'm going to right click on this and say, you know what, I'm going to free up space. So so basically by doing that, I'm saying, hey, I don't need this data on my computer. I'm just going to free up space because it's not necessary, right? So you can see that now that the little cloud is showing there. If I go ahead and double click on the file, you'll see that it kind of downloads it for me automatically, and then it opens it up. So this particular document, this is a really awesome 45 point return on like getting back to the office, right? So like, what do you need to look out for during these times to get back into the office? I'm sure Joanna can tell you guys all about it. If you don't already have this, just let her know and she'll send it to you. But it's a really awesome checklist that we've sent out to our existing clients about things that they can look out for, right? So here's a document, right? You can see that now within Word, this auto save is enabled, right? Because I'm accessing it through OneDrive. Keep in mind that as you make changes, it's automatically going to save the file and upload it back up to the cloud. You could choose to turn this off, but by default, it is on. So let's say if we go through this, things to consider about cleaning and sanitization, right? So let's say, I don't know, there's something new we need to add or remove. You know, food and snacks could have been expired. Well, let's just say we want to be adventurous and eat the expired foods and snacks. So I want to go ahead and, you know, delete that. You can see up here, it's already saying saving. It's automatically saving those changes. In a moment, it'll say saved, right? Oh, thank you, Word, for telling me that it's automatically saved. And it keeps versions now of this file, right? Which is not something that your file server traditionally can do, but this can. So thank you for that. So it's go ahead and it's saved at this point. If I wanted to manually, because, you know, just in case I want to be, I'm concerned that maybe it didn't save, I could also hit the save icon here and now it's saved. So now I'm going to kind of pretend like I'm going to another device. So I'm going to go ahead and open up that awesome checklist. And I could see here in OneDrive in the portal that it was just updated a few seconds ago, right? So if I click this and I'm going to say, all right, let's see what crazy changes Will made to this document. All right, and I can go here and it's going to open this document and it's doing it within Word Online. Now remember, Word Online is more of a light version of Microsoft Word. It's not a full feature-rich version. So, you know, you could see that there's some kind of weird branding stuff that's kind of happening within this document, right? You'll see that I'm currently in that document, right? I could see the change that's made, and I could say, wow, you know, does Will want all his staff to get sick because they ate snacks that are expired, right? But I can go ahead and say, and, you know, let's say add a different item like, you know, don't forget to clean the windows. Joanna's going to kill me for this. All right, don't forget to clean the windows. So we're saving that. You can see that this saved the document. If I minimize this, you can see here that it says, don't forget to clean the windows. Now, this file, like I'm doing this as an example for myself, but let's say this was a file that Joanna wanted to share with other people within, let's say, our staff and say, hey, what do you guys think of this? Or the leadership team, hey, what do you guys think of this? We're going to send this out to clients. She can see all the changes that were made. We can collaborate on the document. We could send the document. And then if this becomes a template that we need to keep for the future, then we could then permanently store that file in our permanent marketing storage area, wherever that is for your organization. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close this document out. I'm going to go back here. All right, once again, you'll see that it'll do these little synchronization changes in time. And once it's done, it'll show that it's synchronized. Okay. All right, one of my favorite features, so I'm going to go back actually into the settings here of OneDrive. is this backup feature. So this to me is probably one of my most favorite features because I don't know, for IT guys, it makes our lives a little bit easier. So I'm a little biased to this. So let's say you're a person, Joanna, that has a lot on their desktop. So let's say you naturally just save a lot of things on your desktop because you're on the go. You don't have time to think about, did I save it to OneDrive? Did I save it to the appropriate place? You just want to save it to your desktop or your documents or wherever, right? And I'm guilty of that. Like I pride myself in having a pretty clean desktop, but I'm a little annoyed with myself that I have a few things on here. So I do have to clean that up later on. Gives you insight into my personality. But let's say, my computer crashes and dies, right? Or, I'm at home, my kids decide to run in, they spill my coffee on my computer and it's unrecoverable, right? Or something like that happens. Or you're working outside, right? And these are very common things. You're working outside, getting a fresher breath air, a tree falls on top of your laptop, whatever it is, right? So you want to back up your data, but you don't want to pay for backing up your data by adding another piece of software and yet another thing to manage. So if you're already using OneDrive and you're already used to using it and storing your files on there, if you go to that backup feature, you can just say, hey, I want to back up my desktop and my documents and my pictures, right? Unfortunately, right now, it is only those 3 locations, which is pretty common for most people. Like most of you aren't going to go into your C drive to save things. Most of you will save it in your desktop or documents, right? So you check it off. So I kind of purposely didn't keep I selected not to back up my pictures. So you'll see that there's a little check mark here, which that's what you would see on the desktop and documents, right? And you just hit start backup. So in this case, we're going to try this in real time and let's hope that it works. But pictures is selected. I'm going to hit start backup. You'll see that it will actually set it up, right? And I can go here and I could see the sync progress because it's going to go ahead and update that. What happens then is while it's backing up that data, if I go back into my OneDrive, I could see here that it's created these folders, one called desktop, one called pictures, and one called documents. And they look very similar to your desktop pictures and documents folder icons that are on your computer. So if I go to desktop here, I can literally see the same items that are here, the same files that are here. Application shortcuts like this one aren't going to show up. Those aren't meant to synchronize. So it'll mostly just be files that you'll see there. And you can see that they're located there. And same thing, if I go to my OneDrive online, I can go to my files, I can go to desktop, and I'll see the exact same data that's there, right? So as I go ahead and add new files there, so let's go back to our demo, and we're gonna go back to this awesome 45-point return to the office checklist. I'm just gonna copy that, paste it in here. And you'll see that it will in a moment. My background's kind of dark, but you'll see here that it did that green check mark, meaning that it backed it up now to the cloud. If I had to go back here, I can see that it's backed it up to the cloud and that's available. And I can click that document and open it. And now I can continue to work on it, make changes. And even though it is not best practices to save stuff to your desktop and documents because your computer can crash, right? But if you have this feature enabled, right, then that's okay, because technically your data is now backed up, right? But yeah, I really, really like that. So with pictures, right? Pictures was one of those that we decided to back up. So if I go to my pictures, yeah, you can see now that it went ahead and started backing up the data. I think I had one file in here, which is a picture of me. I'm not going to show you guys, but it's a good picture of me. But you see that it immediately started backing it up. If you have a lot of data in those 2 folders, it won't be as quick as it just happened with me. It will take a little bit of time, so just be patient with it. Once again, you'll see that it's completed because you'll see the little cloud or the little checkmark icons on every single one of these. All right, looking at time, we're at 10:22. So let's go into sharing files next then instead. All right, so let's say I want to share this file with someone else. So one common question that I get a lot is, hey, I have a file that I want to share with someone outside of my organization. And maybe it's a lot of files, maybe it's a large file that it's probably not best to send it via email, because email has limitations on how big of a file you could send. In general, if case you guys do not know this, I would never send a file larger than 25 megabytes via email. Okay, I would always do anything below that. So we're going to try to share this in real time. So let's say here, right, I have this file. I can right click on this file and I could hit share, and this little icon here. Right, when I click share, you're going to get several options, and we're going to kind of go through these quickly. So you can say, hey, I just want to make this available to anyone. So anyone with this link can edit the file. Right, so that also means that if I go ahead and I send this to Joanna, or let's say I send it to like, I know Meredith Carroll, I think I saw her on the list. Let's say I send it to Meredith Carroll, right? And Meredith decides to send this document then to someone else that's outside of her organization. Maybe she sends it to a friend of hers, right? Well, I basically have allowed that, because I said anyone with this link can actually take this file and do what they want with it, right? So just be careful if you share something confidential, right? Because if it's confidential, right, once again, I could just forward that on to anyone else, right? And they'll have access to this file because those are the permissions that I have set up. So you can say anyone with this link can edit. You can put in their email address and it'll just send it via OneDrive. So through Microsoft, it'll send it. Or instead, you can just copy the link, right? It'll create a shareable link. It's there. I can hit copy. If I go to my email, and let's say I just want to email this to someone, or send it via Teams or something like that, and I paste it in there, you'll see that you'll get this sort of link. Okay, and it usually does come from it looks like this, like sharepoint.com, right? It looks something like that. That person will then open up that file. It'll open up through the web, and they'll be able to open that file up. All right, let's go back to sharing this. So let's say instead, maybe I don't want anyone to just be able to share this file because, maybe it is confidential. Or maybe I don't want it to leave my organization and I just want to share this to someone within MXO or your organization. I could say, you know what, only people within MXO Tech Inc. with this link, can open the file. And I could choose to allow editing, right? Or I could say, don't allow editing. And actually, I don't want people to even be able to download it. I only want them to open it and via the web, right? That would be fine. So then if I send this to Joanna, Joanna decides to share it to, let's say, Meredith, who's not within MXO Tech, she won't be able to actually open up the link. It should deny her. Let's say I want people that already have access to this folder, because technically I can also share this folder. It doesn't just have to be the file. I could share the OneDrive demo folder. I could say, all right, if you already have access, that's fine. You can have access to this file, but maybe you just want a link that you want to send to someone as a reminder, right? This would be a great option for that. And then the next one is specific people. So let's say I only want very specific people like Meredith to be the only person that can open this file. So I can say, I only want specific people, and that's okay for her to edit it. So I'll apply that. And then I enter in their email. And when I enter in their email, they will receive a link to it that will require them to actually sign in to Office 365 or to this OneDrive link via like a live account or their pre-existing account with Office 365, because then that's how it limits and knows that it's for that person, right? And you can choose to send a message and go from there, okay? But just please be careful, because by default, it always does this, allow anyone with a link. The other thing too is if you are going to continue to use allow anyone with this link, you could then choose to say, well, instead, maybe I want to give it a password, right? So you can enter in a password like, I don't know, just something large, and it actually tells you, hey, this is a good password or not a good password. And then you can give it to that individual. I just would avoid emailing that password to that individual, right? Because if someone has compromised their account, that could be a problem. So if you're able to, like, over the phone or like verbally or something like that, just tell them what the password is, then I think you'll be in a better place. Okay.
Well, on this topic of, having things accessible via OneDrive, Steve DeBetto from ICNC has a question. He says in his OneDrive icon, my OneDrive icon is in the system tray portion of my taskbar. When I click on it, the pop-up window shows me documents from other people's OneDrives within my organization in addition to mine. They haven't shared them with me as far as I know, and I've not shared it with them. Are my files accessible to them and vice versa without us having intended to do that?
Sure. So let's a couple ways to answer that. So if I go to your taskbar here and I go to help and settings, go to settings, you'll see the locations that you're synchronizing with. So it's possible, like in this case, right? Like I know that this is synchronizing with my account, but let's say maybe you're synchronizing with SharePoint, right? So within SharePoint, all right, I'll try to show this live. Let's see if this is gonna work. All right, so if I go to SharePoint, I'm just gonna go to MXO SharePoint. I feel like at this point, almost everyone has seen the MSP team SharePoint. And let's just go to policies and procedures, try to find something that's okay to show. Okay, let's just say work from home. And here's the file. So let's say, and this might have been intentional or unintentional, I'm not too sure. So if we need to get specifically with Steve, more than happy to work directly with him. But as an example, let's say you're on SharePoint and you want to synchronize this folder to your computer. It uses OneDrive to do this. So if I go ahead and hit sync and hit open OneDrive, then what happens is this will open up OneDrive and it will start synchronizing this data that's in this folder to my computer. So you'll see here now that if in the OneDrive menu that we were just in, there's this other location that's available to me. And I could choose folders. Like I could choose and say, you know what, actually maybe there's like 20 folders in here. Maybe I don't want to synchronize those folders, right? I could choose to do that. But these are the ones that are available to me. And then kind of same thing now, as people make changes to this work from home folder, I'll start seeing the pop-ups of changes being made because OneDrive has this, like, you could see that it's always showing you these different changes that are happening within OneDrive itself. So that's probably what's happening. In addition, if someone else did decide to share a OneDrive folder with you, and maybe that you didn't know that, and they just decided to include you just to include you, you should be able to go to account and see those locations that are synchronizing that are there. Hopefully that answers that question.
I can unmute you later, Steve, too, if you guys have any questions and want to just talk live. So we'll finish this up. And like Will said, if you're a client, we'll help you with any of these adjustments and make sure that things are turned on and off and set everything up if you need it afterwards. So feel free just to reach out, put in a ticket, and let everyone know Will said he will call you right back.
All right. Hopefully the staff's not listening to this. All right. So file saving from Outlook. So a lot of us get attachments. I decided to email this 45-point return to the office checklist to myself. So this file that's here, let's say instead of me saving this to like my desktop and then later moving it to another place, maybe into my OneDrive, because as you guys have seen in my OneDrive, I do like to keep a lot of folders and semi-order there. But let's say I want to just save this directly. So what I could do is I can click on this file, and instead of hitting save as to my computer, what I could do is just hit upload, and then you can see that that OneDrive shows up here, right? So once again, this is only going to show up if OneDrive is signed into your computer and you're obviously using it. So you can see now that it's saved. This is also a newer feature with Office 2019. I'm not 100% certain if this is available in Office 2016, but if you're subscribing to Office 365 and you pay for Microsoft Office via Office 365, then you automatically get the latest versions available to you of Microsoft Office, which is a benefit of paying for Office via subscription. But you can see that it's saved here. I believe what it does is it will actually put it right in the root of my OneDrive, and then I can choose to move this to the location that I prefer. The other way too is if you wanted to, you can hit Save As, and then which is the traditional way most people save files, and then you can go down to your Microsoft OneDrive here, and then choose the folder that you want to save it to. We're a little over on the half hour. There's a couple more things I want to touch on, Joanna. Is there a ton of questions?
No, not right now. So I think you should continue. I guess it was kind of like right about half hour. We don't have to be on the dot. We do have this for an hour. So, and anything like if we go over, we could always email people answers back as well. So
okay,
yeah,
awesome.
It's going good. Continue. I'm learning a lot.
Okay. Now let's say you want to open files right within Word. So it's similar concept, or Word, Excel, PowerPoint. It's a very similar concept, right? Where when you click open, if you opened up Word, you click open, you'll see OneDrive. If you're signed in to it, it's signed into your computer. And we'll keep going with that same file. Go to OneDrive demo. Here's the checklist. I open that up, and now that information is right inside of there. So it's a way to kind of save a step, or if you just want to continue to work within Word or Excel or PowerPoint, you can also then always go back and hit open again and follow the same exact steps as well. What I also can do is, let's say if let's do a new file actually. So let's go here. Let's go to Word. Let's just do a blank document. And because now when I created that new document, it's kind of default saving it to a temporary space on my computer. So you see that autosave is not enabled by default. If I go to File and I hit Save, I can once again choose OneDrive. I'll go back into the folder we've been working with this OneDrive demo. Another test document. Let's do ideas for next webinar. I'll hit save. You can see now that auto save turned back on automatically because it saved it to OneDrive, which it's assuming that's what you want, right? Because you want it to be continuously just saving and uploading to the cloud. If I go to that same location, you'll see here that ideas for next webinar is there, and you can see that it's trying to synchronize that to the cloud. And then once that is done, what should happen is if I go back here, and I go back, let's go back to my files, OneDrive demo, right? You can see that it's been uploaded already and it's available there. Okay, and you can do that all right within any of these Microsoft Office apps. Once again, I believe you have to be on the latest version of Office to be able to do something like that. All right, and then, and I think at this point, not a ton more to share, but the next thing I just wanted to also recommend is, like, as you're storing all this data on Microsoft's cloud, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's foolproof, right? It does not mean that you're unhackable and that there's no way that your account can get compromised. It's very much the opposite, right? Because you are on Microsoft's cloud, and this available is not stored on your local computer or on a file server, right? You want to make sure that data is kept super safe. So as much as maybe people don't like this, but enabling two-factor authentication for Office 365 would be the next logical step for you. So like you can see how much files and stuff that I have on my OneDrive. I would hate for my account to get compromised and then someone to get access to that information. So enabling two-factor, it's not a difficult process to do, but doing that gives you that extra layer of security so that if someone does, compromises your account, and then you ask, well, how do they compromise my account? Well, there's several ways they can compromise your account, right? We can have a whole other webinar on that. But let's say, you're using the same password that you use on Facebook, on Twitter, on any of these places, and they compromise your password on those websites, right? And now, let's say they figure out, oh, well, who's Joanna Sobran? Oh, it's not difficult to figure out that she works at MXO Tech or she's the CEO of MXO Tech, right? And then they can go ahead and easily try to log into your account. So with two-factor, what happens is when you log into portal.office.com, what'll happen is it'll prompt you then for a code. And it could be a text message or it can be an app on your phone that you just hit approve to, and that's it. When it comes to like your computer, if you have the OneDrive app installed, it's only going to ask you for that two-factor code once when you first set it up. And then anytime later, if you ever change your password or you log into a different device, it'll prompt you for that two-factor authentication code. So that's very, very important. I can't stress how important it is to enable two-factor. If you need help with that, please, if you're an existing client, just please email support@mxotech.com and we'll help you do it, or we'll send you a document, or contact your account manager if you guys want to do it organization-wide, and we can help roll that out as well. But it's a huge thing, especially with all the data we're putting up there with email. It's just very important to do something like that. So yeah, with that, Joanna, I think I'm good with questions if there are any.
Yeah, let me know if you guys want to go into the chat, or let's see, I have one here that came in already from Janice. Is there any concern or process recommended if you have a OneDrive under a personal account? And by the way, okay, go ahead, Will.
No, go ahead, Joanna.
No, it's okay.
Okay. So I guess there's a couple ways to answer that. So OneDrive Personal is great for your personal stuff. So for home, if that's the platform you chose to save your items because you're familiar with it, great. Like that's awesome. If you have significant others that you guys like to share data and you want to put it on a secure cloud platform, yeah, OneDrive Personal is fantastic for that. I would heavily not recommend though if your staff is allowed to use personal OneDrive for work purposes. And the main reason for that is now if you allow that and that employee leaves, and it's unfortunate that we do have to create a lot of these processes around the doom and gloom of someone leaving or getting terminated or winning the lotto, which in that point is not a bad thing. It's a great thing. But we do have to plan for those things that happen, the inevitable, right? So at that point, if the employee leaves or you terminate them because of something that happens, you have zero control of the data that's on that personal account. You can't ask them for it. It's their personal, to the world, it's their personal information, right? It's their personal account on their personal email. So at that point, I would just recommend that instead, if you're an Office 365 subscriber, just use OneDrive Business. I believe you get 1 terabyte of space per employee. So it's not like you have a shortage of space on there at all. Just transition your files over to it and we can help you if you need assistance with that. But otherwise, yeah, I don't think it's a good idea to have employees use personal OneDrive.
Okay, thank you, Will. Do we have any other questions? And you guys can go into the Q&A as well, or the chat. Okay. All right, Maddie Young. All right, do you guys have best practices, like a one-pager that we can share with staff to make sure everyone has their OneDrive SharePoint synced correctly? Something that we could use while onboarding and making sure current staff have their systems set up correctly. I've heard of people doing weird workarounds because they don't have their syncs set up. So, we don't have that put together right now, Maddie, but It is something that we're going to do after this webinar. So every webinar we've had, Charlotte has put together documentation about the specific webinar, but we could actually put best practices, one pager, you know, and send it out to everyone. So it might take us a week or two, but I'll put it in a request. We don't have it right now, though.
One quick thing, Joanna, that
Yeah.
so with this webinar, the intent was really to just kind of stay around the more individual OneDrive sort of workflows, right? SharePoint is another, and if people are interested, Joanna, I mean, SharePoint could be another really good webinar to do, just because I feel like it's been around for so long, but yet no one really knows it, and we could potentially cover a little bit more of that there as well.
Yeah. Yeah, but we'll find something for you. I agree. I think SharePoint would be great to kind of complement this, because they do work hand in hand together. And we have, you know, a lot of our clients use SharePoint, so I love that idea. Okay, we'll put that on the docket here. Any other specific questions as they relate to OneDrive? And by the way, someone asked here if this is going to be shared, and all of our training sessions are now on the MXO YouTube channel. So, and then we email them out to you after each webinar, and then you could always access it there if you found it helpful and you feel like people in your organization could use some ideas from listening to it. We post them, they're readily available.
Yeah, I think, Joanna, the help desk guys have been using them, because we've been having a lot of questions on, like, let's say the first two that we did, which was Microsoft Teams 101 and 102, right? So the staff has been sending those links out to people as well as more of a training for them to answer some of those questions. So
a great idea. Yeah, and that's a good point, Will, because for those of you on today's call, if you want to learn more about Teams, we did Teams 101 and then we did Teams 201. Those are really good. We got a lot of participation. I think we had like about 100 participants for those, you know, separately. And so if you want to access those as well, that's really been great. And Teams is constantly making changes, and it's been an awesome tool for all of us. We've heavily used it, and now kind of going into this OneDrive, right? These are all like tools that you guys can use to help you be a lot more efficient and secure. Okay. So if we don't have any more questions, what I wanted to announce to you, first of all, I'm so glad that you guys participated. And what we're going to do next is on September 17th, we're going to have a keynote speaker, a gentleman, Don, who Will personally met at one of our IT conferences, that is known for customer service and helping organizations really build out their customer service. Now, Will thought it was really important for us, and you know, he knows I do too, right? It's not just about how our employees solve a problem, it's how they treat someone, right? And it's his training is called the Compassionate Geek, because it's kind of specific to the IT industry. But I will tell you, just from listening to some of it, I think it applies for everyone. And so we're working with Don, and he's graciously agreed to do a keynote for MXO Tech. So a lot of our employees are going to participate, but I'm also going to share it out with our clients and just our friends who are part of the MXO community. So Karen's going to be sending out an invite to all of you, but on September 17th at 10 a.m., we're going to have Don join us and talk about how to really enhance your customer service within your organization. And to me, this is so important, because you guys that are on this call today, especially those of you who are in leadership roles, you know how critical that is to differentiate your company, grow your business, right? People don't remember what you did for them, but how you treated them. And I think I love that saying, because I always know who's treated me well, and who's been able to not just help me, but also just kind of make my day feel better. So I'm really excited about that. We're going to get that out to all of you. That's going to be our next webinar. And then after that, we're going to do maybe something on SharePoint and mobile development. So stay tuned for everything that we have coming up. Our goal is, like you see, we're not selling you anything. There's no like catch and, you know, stay at the end because we're going to have an offering. We're not doing that. I feel like in this time right now, we want to be part of all of your communities and help you, whether it's using technology in a better way, improving your customer service, anything really to be a partner of yours and help you grow your organization. So with that, Will, awesome job. That was really helpful. I don't know about you guys. I'd love a thumbs up or something. I don't know if you can do that here. Any kind of feedback in the chat for Will. I think that was really great. Yet another awesome webinar. And if you have any questions, you can email us at ask@mxotech.com. That goes to our account managers, and they'll be happy to respond. You can email us at support@mxotech.com. And then, of course, just feel free to contact me directly if you need anything. So have a fantastic Thursday, and I hope to see all of you on September 17th. So bye, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye. I'll stay on for a second for some comments. I love getting feedback from people. Thank you for those comments, for those of you still on. Very informative. Thank you. Let's see, Q&A, great webinar. Thanks for the shout out.